First contact fiasco. The day Earth officially welcomed its first alien exchange student dawned bright and clear, a perfect September morning that belied the chaos about to unfold. Dr. Eliza Chen, lead xenanthropologist at the Global Extraterrestrial Exchange Program, GEP, straightened her lab coat and tried to quell the butterflies in her stomach. After years of preparation, countless diplomatic negotiations, and more paperwork than she cared to remember, the moment had finally arrived. "Stop fidgeting," Eliza, her colleague, Dr. Marcus Webb, whispered. "You look like you're about to combust." Eliza shot him a glare. "I'd like to see you stay calm when you're about to meet an honest-to-God alien." Marcus grinned, his dark eyes twinkling with excitement. "Oh, I'm far from calm. I'm just better at hiding it." Before Eliza could retort, a hush fell over the assembled crowd. The sleek, silver spacecraft that had been hovering above the landing pad began its descent, stirring up a whirlwind of dust and debris. Eliza's heart pounded in her chest as the ship touched down with barely a sound, its seamless hull gleaming in the morning sunlight. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a soft hiss, a door materialized in the ship's side, sliding open to reveal a figure that was at once familiar and utterly alien. The creature that emerged was roughly humanoid, standing about 7 feet tall with a slender, almost willowy frame. Its skin was a pale lavender, smooth and seemingly without pores, but it was the eyes that captured Eliza's attention, 3 of them, arranged in a triangle on the alien's face, each a swirling vortex of silver and violet. As the alien took its first steps on Earth, Eliza forced herself to remember her training. She stepped forward, hands raised in the universal gesture of peace. "Welcome to Earth," she said, her voice steady despite her nerves. "I am Dr. Eliza Chen, lead xenanthropologist for the Global Extraterrestrial Exchange Program. On behalf of humanity, we are honored to have you here." The alien tilted its head, the movement fluid and graceful. When it spoke, the sound seemed to come from everywhere at once, a melodic hum that Eliza felt in her bones. "Greetings, Dr. Eliza Chen. I am Zixari the Lama. I am pleased to be here." The slight pause before pleased didn't escape Eliza's notice, but she chalked it up to the complexities of interspecies communication. The universal translators they developed were good, but they weren't perfect. "We have prepared accommodations for you," Eliza continued, gesturing towards the nearby GEP facility. "If you'll follow me, we can get you settled in and begin your orientation." Zixari nodded, its movements causing the light to dance across its iridescent skin. As they walked, Eliza couldn't help but notice the way the alien's 3 eyes darted about, taking in every detail of its surroundings. The next few hours passed in a blur of introductions, explanations, and barely contained excitement. Zixari proved to be an attentive listener, asking insightful questions that sometimes left even the most experienced scientists scrambling for answers. It wasn't until late afternoon that Eliza noticed something was amiss. Zixari had grown increasingly agitated, its normally fluid movements becoming jerky and uncoordinated. "Is everything all right?" Eliza asked, concern evident in her voice. Zixari's 3 eyes blinked in rapid succession. I am experiencing discomfort. A strange sensation I've never felt before. It is most unpleasant." Alarm bells rang in Eliza's head. Was the alien having some sort of adverse reaction to Earth's atmosphere? Were they about to witness a diplomatic disaster of interstellar proportions? "Can you describe the sensation?" she asked, trying to keep her voice calm. Zixari seemed to concentrate for a moment. "It is a hollow feeling here," it said, gesturing to its midsection, "and there is a most peculiar noise." As if on cue, a loud rumbling sound filled the room. Eliza blinked, then felt a hysterical laugh bubble up in her throat. She managed to suppress it, but couldn't quite keep the smile off her face. "Zixari," she said gently, "I believe you're experiencing hunger. It's a natural biological process that signals our bodies need sustenance, Food. The alien's eyes widened in what Eliza interpreted as surprise. Hunger? But I have never needed to consume matter for energy before. On my world, we absorb all necessary nutrients from our atmosphere. And just like that, Eliza realized they had overlooked a crucial detail in their preparations. They had been so focused on making sure Earth's atmosphere was compatible with lumbar physiology, they hadn't considered the alien might need to eat. I see, Eliza said, her mind racing. Well, not to worry. We'll get you something to eat right away. In fact, this is a perfect opportunity for you to experience one of humanity's most beloved traditions, dining together. As Eliza led Zixari to the facility's cafeteria, she couldn't help but wonder what other surprises their alien visitor had in store for them. Little did she know, the adventure was only just beginning. The cafeteria was nearly empty when they arrived, most of the staff having gone home for the day. This suited Eliza just fine. Fewer people meant fewer potential complications. Now, Eliza said as they approached the food counter, human beings consume a wide variety of substances for nutrition. We'll start with something simple and see what agrees with your physiology. Zixari watched with fascination as Eliza filled a tray with an assortment of foods, a bowl of clear broth, some plain rice, steamed vegetables, and a selection of fruits. These items are generally considered mild and easily digestible, Eliza explained as they sat down. We'll monitor your reactions closely to ensure there are no adverse effects. The alien regarded the array of food with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. And you engage in this, eating, multiple times in a single planetary rotation. Eliza nodded. Typically 3 times a day, yes, though some humans eat more or less frequently depending on their needs and preferences. Zixari's 3 eyes blinked in rapid succession, a gesture Eliza was beginning to associate with surprise or disbelief. Fascinating. The time your species must dedicate to this process seems inefficient. Perhaps, Eliza conceded with a smile, but it's also one of our greatest sources of pleasure and social bonding. Now, shall we begin? What followed was an experience Eliza knew she would never forget. Zixari approached each new food with the meticulous care of a scientist conducting a potentially dangerous experiment. The alien used the provided utensils with surprising dexterity, though Eliza noticed it seemed to prefer using its long, slender fingers. The broth was met with cautious approval, the alien remarking on the curious way it seems to warm one from the inside. The rice proved more challenging, with Zixari struggling to understand the concept of chewing. You must break it down with your mouth parts before swallowing, Eliza explained patiently. It aids in digestion. Zixari made a sound that might have been a sigh. Your method of nutrient absorption is remarkably complex, Dr. Chen. I find myself gaining a new appreciation for the resilience of your species. The real breakthrough came with the fruit. When Zixari bit into a ripe strawberry, its eyes widened to an almost comical degree. This is extraordinary, the alien exclaimed, its melodic voice rising in pitch. The explosion of flavor, the interplay of sweet and tart. I had no idea matter could be so delightful. Eliza couldn't help but laugh at the alien's enthusiasm. Wait until you try chocolate, she said with a wink. As they continued their culinary exploration, Eliza found herself relaxing. Despite the vast differences between their species, there was something undeniably charming about Zixari's reactions to these everyday human experiences. Their meal was interrupted by the arrival of Marcus, who burst into the cafeteria with an excited grin on his face. There you are, he exclaimed. I've been looking everywhere for you too. The sun's about to set, and I thought our guest might enjoy watching it from the observation deck. Zixari tilted its head curiously. Sunset. This is a significant event. Oh, it's not to be missed, Marcus assured the alien. Come on, I'll show you. As they made their way to the observation deck, Eliza explained the concept of day and night to Zixari. The alien listened with rapt attention, occasionally interjecting with questions that made Eliza realize just how much they took for granted about their own world. The observation deck offered a panoramic view of the surrounding landscape. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant hues of orange, pink, and purple, Zixari stood transfixed. "It's beautiful," the alien whispered, its voice filled with awe. "On my world, the light never changes. It is constant, unvarying. This is like watching your planet come alive." Elisa felt a lump form in her throat. She had watched countless sunsets in her life, but seeing it through Zixari's eyes made her appreciate its beauty anew. As darkness fell and stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Zixari turned to Elisa, its eyes shimmering with an emotion she couldn't quite name. "Dr. Chen," the alien said softly, "I believe I'm beginning to understand why your people agreed to this exchange program. There is so much beauty, so much wonder on your world. I am honored to be here to experience it." Elisa smiled, feeling a surge of pride in her planet and her species. "The honor is ours, Zixari, and please call me Eliza." As they stood there, human and alien side by side, watching the last vestiges of daylight fade away, Eliza couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the brink of something monumental. The path ahead would undoubtedly be filled with challenges and misunderstandings, but also with discovery, growth, and the potential for a friendship that transcended the stars. Little did she know the greatest challenges and the most surprising revelations were yet to come. As night settled over the GEP facility, Elisa found herself wondering what other human traditions might shock and amaze that alien visitor. The adventure, it seemed, was only just beginning. Nocturnal revelations. As the first week of Zixari's stay on Earth drew to a close, Eliza Chen found herself both exhausted and exhilarated. Each day brought new discoveries, challenges, and moments of unexpected hilarity. But nothing could have prepared her for the night Zixari discovered the concept of sleep. It was just past midnight when Eliza's phone buzzed insistently, jolting her from a deep slumber. Bleary-eyed, she fumbled for the device, her heart racing when she saw it was the emergency line from the GEP facility. "Dr. Chen speaking," she mumbled, already scrambling out of bed. "Eliza, it's Marcus," came the frantic voice of her colleague. "You need to get down here now. It's Zixari. I think something's wrong." 15 minutes later, Eliza burst into the alien's quarters, her lab coat hastily thrown over her pajamas. The scene that greeted her was nothing short of surreal. Zixari was pacing the room in agitated circles, all three eyes wide and darting about frantically. The normally graceful alien was bumping into furniture, its movements jerky and uncoordinated. "Zixari," Eliza called out, approaching cautiously. "What's wrong? Are you in pain?" The alien whirled to face her, its violet skin taking on a sickly pallor. "Dr. Chen, Eliza, something is terribly wrong. I believe I may be dying." Eliza's blood ran cold. "Dying? What makes you think that?" "My cognitive functions are impaired," Zixari explained, its melodic voice tinged with panic. "My visual processes are malfunctioning, creating strange hallucinations, and I keep experiencing prolonged periods of unconsciousness." It took a moment for Eliza's sleep-deprived brain to process this information. When it did, she had to stifle a laugh. "Zixari," she said gently, "you're not dying. You're just tired. Your body needs sleep." The alien froze, all three eyes blinking rapidly in confusion. "Sleep? This loss of consciousness is normal." "Completely normal," Eliza assured it. "In fact, it's essential for human health and well-being. We typically sleep for about 8 hours out of every 24. Zixari's posture relaxed slightly, but confusion still radiated from its entire being. "But why?" "On my world, we remain in a state of constant awareness. The idea of voluntarily losing consciousness seems dangerous." Eliza smiled, gesturing for Zixari to sit down. As they settled onto the couch, she began to explain the concept of sleep, its importance for memory consolidation, physical recovery, and mental health. The alien listened with rapt attention, occasionally interjecting with questions that made Eliza realize just how strange human sleep habits must seem to an outsider. "So, you willingly make yourselves vulnerable for hours at a time?" Zixari asked, incredulity evident in its voice. "Well, yes," Eliza admitted. "But we have ways to ensure our safety while we sleep. Locked doors, alarm systems, even sleeping in groups for protection." Zixari tilted its head, a gesture Eliza had come to recognize as deep thought. "Fascinating. And you say this sleep is pleasurable?" "Oh, absolutely," Eliza enthused. "There's nothing quite like crawling into a warm, comfortable bed after a long day. And don't even get me started on the joy of sleeping in on weekends." The alien's eyes swirled with curiosity. I believe I would like to try this sleep." What followed was a crash course in human sleep rituals that Eliza never could have anticipated. She found herself explaining the concept of pajamas. "No, Zixari, humans don't usually sleep in their day clothes. The importance of a good pillow. It supports your head and neck, and the human obsession with the perfect mattress firmness." As she helped Zixari set up a makeshift bed, Eliza couldn't help but marvel at the absurdity of the situation. Here she was, a renowned anthropologist, essentially tucking an alien into bed like a child. "Now," she said, once Zixari was settled, "just close your eyes. And try to relax. Let your mind drift. Sleep will come naturally." Zixari obediently closed its central eye, the other two following suit after a moment's hesitation. "Like this?" "Perfect," Eliza smiled. "Sweet dreams, Zixari." As she turned to leave, the alien's voice stopped her. "Eliza, what are dreams?" Eliza paused in the doorway, realizing she had just opened another can of worms. "That's a conversation for tomorrow, I think. For now, just rest." As she made her way back to her own quarters, Eliza's mind raced with the implications of this latest development. If something as fundamental as sleep was foreign to the Luma, what other basic human experiences might be completely alien to them? The next morning, Eliza arrived at the GEP facility earlier than usual, eager to check on Zixari. She found the alien sitting cross-legged on the bed, all three eyes wide open and gleaming with excitement. "Eliza," Zixari exclaimed upon seeing her, "I have experienced sleep and dreams. It was indescribable." The alien's enthusiasm was infectious, and Eliza found herself grinning. "That's wonderful. How do you feel?" "Refreshed, energized. As though my entire being has been reset," Zixari marveled. "Is this how humans feel every day?" "On a good day, yes," Eliza laughed. "Though many of us need coffee to get to that point." Zixari's eyes swirled with curiosity. "Coffee? Is this another human ritual?" Before Eliza could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Red lights flashed, and the automated security system announced a lockdown. "What's happening?" Zixari asked, rising to its feet with fluid grace. Eliza's heart raced as she checked her phone for alerts. "I'm not sure, but we need to get to the secure area. Come on." As they rushed through the corridors, Eliza's mind whirled with possibilities. Had there been a breach in the quarantine protocols? Was Earth under attack? Or was this all some terrible misunderstanding? They rounded a corner and nearly collided with Marcus, who was sprinting in the opposite direction. "Eliza, thank God," he panted. "You're not going to believe this. We've got incoming." "Incoming what?" Eliza demanded. Marcus's eyes were wide with a mixture of fear and excitement. "Ships, dozens of them. They just appeared in orbit without any warning. And they're not Luma." Eliza felt her blood run cold. She turned to Zixari, whose violet skin had paled to a sickly lavender. "Did you know about this?" The alien's three eyes blinked rapidly in what Eliza now recognized as distress. I did not. This is most unexpected." As if on cue, every screen in the facility flickered to life, displaying a message in an alien script that even their advanced translation software couldn't decipher. Zixari let out a gasp. No, it cannot be. Not here. What? Eliza and Marcus asked in unison. The alien's voice was barely above a whisper. It's the Vorthax, the scourge of our galaxy. They must have followed me here. As the implications of this statement sank in, Eliza realized that their quaint cultural exchange had just become a potential interstellar incident. The adventure of introducing an alien to human sleek customs suddenly seemed trivial in comparison to the looming threat. Right, Eliza said, squaring her shoulders. Zixari, we need to know everything you can tell us about these Vorthax. Marcus, alert the Global Defense Council. It looks like humanity is about to face its first extraterrestrial crisis. As they rushed to the command center, Eliza couldn't help but think that for better or worse, this was one night that would go down in human history. The question was, would there be anyone left to record it? Hidden strengths. The GEEK Facilities Command Center buzzed with frantic activity as scientists, military personnel, and government officials from around the world converged via holographic projections. At the center of the chaos stood Eliza, Marcus, and Zixari, the latter's normally iridescent skin, now a dull, ashen purple. All right, Zixari, Eliza said, her voice steady despite the panic threatening to overwhelm her. Tell us everything you know about these Vorthax. The alien's three eyes swirled with a mix of fear and determination. The Vorthax are difficult to describe in human terms. They are not so much a species as they are a collective consciousness. They consume worlds, assimilating all knowledge and technology into their hive mind. A ripple of murmurs spread through the assembled officials. General Lydia Hawthorne, head of Earth's newly formed extraterrestrial defense force, leaned forward. And their capabilities, weapons, weaknesses. Zixari's shoulders slumped. Their technology far surpasses even that of my people. They can manipulate gravity, bend spacetime, and their weapons. They don't just destroy matter, they erase it from existence. A heavy silence fell over the room. It was Marcus who broke it, his voice trembling slightly. So, what you're saying is we're screwed. Eliza shot him a glare. We're not giving up that easily. There has to be something we can do. As if in response to her words, the main screen lit up with an incoming transmission. The face that appeared was unlike anything Eliza had ever seen, a shifting fractal pattern that hurt her eyes to look at directly. People of Earth, the being spoke, its voice a discordant cacophony of sounds. We are the Vorthax. Your world now belongs to us. Surrender, and your knowledge will become one with our collective. Resist, and you will be erased. General Hawthorne stepped forward, her jaw set. This is General Lydia Hawthorne of Earth. We do not surrender to threats. Leave our solar system immediately or face the consequences. The Vorthax emissary's form rippled, emotion Eliza interpreted as laughter. Brave words from a primitive species. You have one planetary rotation to reconsider. Then, we begin our harvest. The transmission cut off, plunging the room into chaos once more. Amid the shouting and frantic strategizing, Eliza noticed Zixari had gone very still, all three eyes fixed on a point in the distance. Zixari, she asked, touching the alien's arm gently. What is it? I may have an idea, Zixari said slowly, but it's dangerous and, well, very human. Eliza couldn't help but smile despite the dire situation. Those are often our best ideas. What do you have in mind? As Zixari explained its plan, Eliza felt a glimmer of hope. It was crazy, improbable, and relied heavily on human ingenuity and adaptability. In other words, it was perfect. The next 24 hours were a whirlwind of activity. As militaries around the world mobilized and civilians huddled in shelters, a small team at GEEP worked tirelessly on what they hoped would be humanity's salvation. Let me get this straight, Marcus said, rubbing his temples. We're going to try to bore the Vorthax to death. Eliza grinned, the manic energy of sleep deprivation and adrenaline making her feel almost giddy. Not exactly. We're going to overload them with the most mundane, repetitive aspects of human existence. Zixari nodded enthusiastically. The Vorthax assimilate knowledge rapidly, but they have no concept of routine or repetition. If we can flood their collective consciousness with an overwhelming amount of monotonous data, we might be able to create a feedback loop in their hive mind, Eliza finished, buying us time to figure out a more permanent solution. As the deadline approached, tension mounted. The plan relied on hijacking the Vorthax's own assimilation technology, a feat that would have been impossible without Zixari's knowledge and Earth's most advanced quantum computers. With minutes to spare, they were ready. As the Vorthax ships began their descent, Eliza took a deep breath and pressed the button to initiate their desperate plan. Instantly, a massive data stream began broadcasting directly into the Vorthax collective consciousness. Hours of mundane human activities flooded their hive mind. People brushing their teeth, sitting in traffic, watching paint dry, filling out tax forms, and attending interminable meetings about meetings. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, miraculously, the Vorthax ships began to falter. "It's working," Marcus shouted, pointing at the radar screen. They're confused. Indeed, the massive alien fleet seemed to be in disarray. Some ships spun in aimless circles, while others simply hung motionless in the sky. A transmission crackled through, the Vorthax emissary's fractal face now twitching and glitching. What is this? Make it stop. How do you endure such tedium?" Eliza stepped forward, a fierce pride in her species burning in her chest. "That, Vorthax, is the secret strength of humanity. We persevere, we find meaning in the mundane, and we will not surrender our world to you." The emissary's form flickered violently. "No, no more. We cannot process, retreat." As suddenly as they had appeared, the Vorthax ships vanished, leaving Earth's skies clear once more. The command center erupted in cheers and tears of relief. Eliza found herself crushed in a group hug between Marcus and Zixari, the latter's skin now glowing with a brilliant, joyous light. "We did it," Eliza breathed, scarcely able to believe it. "We actually did it." Zixari's eyes swirled with what Eliza now recognized as deep emotion. "You did it, Eliza. Your species did. I am in awe of humanity's resilience." As the celebration continued around them, Eliza couldn't help but laugh. "Just wait until you experience a Monday morning commute, Zixari. Then you'll really understand human resilience." In the days that followed, Earth began the process of coming to terms with its new reality. The existence of alien life was now an indisputable fact, and humanity's place in the cosmos had been irrevocably changed. For Eliza, Marcus, and Zixari, however, the adventure was far from over. As they sat in the GEK cafeteria, sipping much-needed coffee, which Zixari had developed quite a fondness for, Eliza couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. "So," she said, looking at her alien friend with a mix of curiosity and excitement, "now that we've saved the world, what other human traditions should we introduce you to?" Zixari's eyes twinkled with mischief. "Well, I've been hearing a lot about this thing called karaoke." As Marcus groaned and Eliza laughed, the trio began planning their next cultural exchange. After all, if humanity could face down an intergalactic threat, surely they could survive teaching an alien to sing, "Don't Stop Believin'." The universe, it seemed, had a sense of humor after all. Cultural crossroads. The weeks following the Vorthax incident saw Earth transformed. The revelation of alien life and humanity's unlikely victory had united the planet in a way never before seen. But as the initial euphoria faded, new challenges emerged. Eliza found herself at the center of a media storm, suddenly thrust into the role of humanity's de facto ambassador to the stars. Her days were a whirlwind of press conferences, government briefings, and increasingly bizarre cultural exchange sessions with Zixari. It was during one such session, as Eliza attempted to explain the concept of memes to a bewildered Zixari, that the first cracks in Earth's newfound unity began to show. "So, Let me understand this correctly, Zixari said, all three eyes narrowed in concentration. Humans deliberately propagate nonsensical images and phrases for amusement. Eliza nodded, struggling to keep a straight face. Essentially, yes. It's a form of shared cultural humor that. She was interrupted by the sudden appearance of Marcus, his face grave. Eliza, we've got a problem. You need to see this. He handed her a tablet, and Eliza felt her heart sink as she read the headlines. Alien influence. Threat to human culture. To global leaders TVAT limiting extraterrestrial ciontacity. Anti-alien protests a repeat worldwide. It's not just talk, Marcus said quietly. There's been violence. A group calling themselves Earth First tried to break into the GEP facility last night. Zixari, sensing the tension, moved closer. What's happening, Eliza? Have I done something wrong? Eliza sighed, running a hand through her hair. No, Zixari, it's not you. It's complicated. Humans, where we can be afraid of change, of things we don't understand. Before she could elaborate, an alarm blared through the facility. Red lights flashed, and a computerized voice announced, "Warning. Unauthorized access detected. Security breach in progress." Eliza's blood ran cold. Marcus, get Zixari to the safe room. Now. But as they turned to leave, the door burst open. A group of masked individuals stormed in, wielding makeshift weapons and chanting, "Earth for humans. Aliens go home." What happened next would later be described by witnesses as nothing short of miraculous. Zixari, who had always seemed so gentle and curious, suddenly moved with lightning speed. Its form shimmered and changed, growing to twice its normal size. With movements almost too fast to follow, it disarmed the intruders, using what looked like some form of alien martial art. Within seconds, the attackers were subdued, their weapons scattered harmlessly on the floor. Zixari returned to its normal form, looking somewhat sheepish. "I apologize for the deception," it said softly. "My people are pacifists, but we are not defenseless. I had hoped such skills would not be necessary here." Eliza and Marcus stared in amazement, their minds struggling to process what they'd just witnessed. Before they could respond, however, a new commotion arose from a hallway. General Hawthorne strode in, flanked by security personnel. Her eyes widened as she took in the scene. "What in the name of—" "General," Eliza interjected quickly, "I can explain. These people attacked us and Zixari. Well, Zixari protected us." The general's gaze shifted to the alien, a mix of suspicion and grudging respect in her eyes. "I see. And this protection, it didn't involve any weapons we should know about." Zixari straightened to its full height, all three eyes meeting the general's gaze steadily. "No weapons, General. Only the skills my people have developed over millennia of pursuing peace." A tense silence fell over the room. Eliza held her breath, acutely aware that the next few moments could determine the future of human-alien relations. To everyone's surprise, it was Marcus who broke the tension. He started to laugh, softly at first, then building to a full-bellied guffaw. "I'm sorry," he gasped between chuckles, "but are we really not going to talk about how our alien friend just went full crouching tiger, hidden dragon on these guys? That was awesome." His laughter proved contagious. Soon, even General Hawthorne's stern expression cracked, a reluctant smile tugging at her lips. As the tension dissipated, Eliza had an idea. "General," she said, "I think it's time we changed our approach. The world needs to see Zixari for what they really are. Not just an alien, but a person, with strengths, flaws, and yes, even some kick-ass moves." The general raised an eyebrow. "What exactly are you proposing, Dr. Chen?" Eliza grinned, a plan already forming in her mind. "I'm proposing we go viral." What followed was a whirlwind campaign that would later be studied in marketing classes for decades to come. Zixari, with Eliza and Marcus's guidance, became an overnight sensation. They started with a series of online videos. Alien Tries Human Foods became an instant hit, with Zixari's reaction to wasabi nearly breaking the internet. Teaching an alien to dance showcased both Zixari's initial clumsiness and its rapid learning curve, ending with a surprisingly smooth moonwalk. But it was Alien Reacts to Earth's memes that truly captured the world's heart. Zixari's genuine confusion, followed by its attempts to create its own memes, featuring obscure Luma concepts, sparked a global trend of human-alien meme exchanges. As Zixari's popularity grew, so did understanding and acceptance. The alien was invited to late-night talk shows, gave TED talks on interstellar peace, and even had a guest spot on a popular cooking show, though the segment on traditional Luma cuisine had to be scrapped for health and safety reasons. Not everyone was won over, of course. There were still protests, still those who feared change. But their voices were increasingly drowned out by a new generation eager to embrace a broader, cosmic perspective. Months after the Earth-first attack, Eliza found herself sitting with Zixari on the roof of the GEP facility, watching the sunset. The alien had developed a particular fondness for this daily Earth ritual. "You know," Zixari said, its melodic voice tinged with wonder, "when I first arrived here, I thought I was coming to teach, to show humanity the wonders of the cosmos, but in truth, I have learned far more than I could ever hope to teach." Eliza smiled, a warm feeling spreading through her chest. "Oh, and what have you learned?" Zixari was quiet for a moment, its three eyes reflecting the golden light of the setting sun. "I've learned that strength comes in many forms. That humor can bridge the greatest divides. That change, while frightening, can lead to beautiful new realities." It turned to look at Eliza, its gaze intense. "But most of all, I've learned that the true wonder of the cosmos isn't out there in the stars. It's here, in the hearts and minds of beings willing to reach out, to understand, to grow." As the last rays of sunlight dipped below the horizon, Eliza felt a profound sense of hope for the future. There would be challenges ahead, certainly. Cultural misunderstandings, political hurdles, perhaps even new threats from the stars. But as she sat there with her alien friend, watching the first stars appear in the twilight sky, Eliza knew one thing for certain. Whatever the universe had in store, humanity would face it with open minds, open hearts, and perhaps a few viral videos to smooth the way. The adventure, it seemed, was only just beginning. Humanity's triumph. The one-year anniversary of Zixari's arrival on Earth dawned with an air of electric anticipation. What had begun as a simple cultural exchange had evolved into a global phenomenon, reshaping humanity's view of itself and its place in the cosmos. Eliza stood backstage at the United Nations headquarters in New York, trying to calm her nerves. In just a few minutes, she would address the General Assembly, presenting the groundbreaking Cosmic Coexistence Initiative, a bold plan for integrating Earth into the galactic community. "Ready for your big moment?" Marcus asked, adjusting his tie nervously. Eliza managed a weak smile. "As ready as I'll ever be. Where's Zixari?" As if on cue, their alien friend materialized beside them, its skin shimmering with excitement. "Apologies for my tardiness. I was engaging in what I believe humans called a Twitter war with some rather persistent flat earthers." Eliza couldn't help but laugh. "I still can't believe we taught you about social media. Are you sure your species doesn't have a word for regret?" Before Zixari could respond, a stagehand approached. "Dr. Chen, you're on in 2 minutes." Taking a deep breath, Eliza straightened her jacket. "Well, here goes nothing. Wish me luck." As she stepped onto the stage, the roar of applause was deafening. Delegates from every nation on Earth, along with a smattering of newly arrived alien ambassadors, filled the grand hall. Cameras broadcast the event to billions around the world and, for the first time, to curious species across the galaxy. Distinguished delegates, honored guests, citizens of Earth and beyond, Eliza began, her voice steady despite her racing heart. 1 year ago, our world changed forever. We learned that we are not alone in the universe. We faced a terrible threat, and against all odds, we prevailed. She paused, letting her gaze sweep across the audience. But our greatest triumph was not in defeating the Vorfax. It was in what came after. In learning to embrace the unknown, to celebrate our differences, and to recognize the incredible potential that lies in cooperation across the stars. As Eliza outlined the Cosmic Coexistence Initiative, detailing plans for cultural exchanges, scientific collaborations, and even the first human colonies on distant worlds, she could feel the energy in the room building. This wasn't just a policy proposal, it was a vision for a future that, just a year ago, would have seemed impossible. But just as she was reaching the climax of her speech, chaos erupted. The lights flickered, then went out entirely. Panicked murmurs rippled through the crowd. When emergency power kicked in moments later, Eliza gasped in shock. Hovering above the center of the assembly hall was a massive holographic projection. Its swirling fractal patterns were all too familiar. "Greetings, people of Earth," the Vorfax emissary's discordant voice boomed. "We have returned." Screams and shouts filled the air as delegates scrambled for exits. But Eliza stood her ground, her mind racing. This couldn't be happening. Not now. Not when they were so close to a new beginning. Then she felt a gentle touch on her arm. Zixari stood beside her, its 3 eyes gleaming with determination. "Remember what you taught me, Eliza," it said softly. "Sometimes the best defense is a good meme." For a split second, Eliza stared at her alien friend in disbelief. Then understanding dawned. With a nod to Marcus, who was already furiously tapping at his tablet, she turned back to face the Vorfax projection. Well, Eliza said, her voice ringing out across the suddenly hushed assembly hall. "Look who decided to crash the party. Didn't you get enough of a beatdown last time?" The Vorfax emissary's form rippled in what might have been confusion. "We do not understand. We come to complete our harvest." Eliza grinned, a plan forming. "Oh, honey, you are so last season. Harvesting planets. That's such a 2024 thing to do. All the cool cosmic entities are into collaborative memetics now." As she spoke, the screens around the hall sprang to life. Memes began to flood in from around the world, inside jokes about the Vorfax's first failed invasion, remixed with current events and pop culture references. What is this?" the Vorfax demanded, its usually menacing voice tinged with bewilderment. "This, my fractal friend, is the power of human creativity," Eliza declared. "You thought you could assimilate our knowledge? Well, try assimilating this." With a nod from Eliza, Marcus initiated Operation Memetic Overload. A concentrated burst of data, packed with the most bizarre, nonsensical, and utterly human content they could compile, was beamed directly into the Vorfax consciousness. The effect was immediate and spectacular. The holographic projection began to glitch and warp, the Vorfax emissary's voice dissolving into garbled nonsense. "No, not again, cannot process. Too much. Dode. Why is cake a lie? Who let the dogs out? Make it stop." With a final frustrated screech, the projection vanished. Moments later, reports flooded in from around the world. The Vorfax fleet was retreating, their ships practically tripping over each other in their haste to escape Earth's orbit. For a moment, the assembly hall was silent. Then, as the realization of what had just happened sank in, it erupted into cheers, applause, and not a few bewildered laughs. Eliza found herself crushed in a group hug between Marcus and Zixari, the latter's skin pulsing with joyous bioluminescence. "I can't believe it actually worked," Marcus said, shaking his head in amazement. Zixari's eyes swirled with what Eliza now recognized as its species equivalent of a grin. "Never underestimate the power of human absurdity, my friend." As the celebration continued around them, Eliza felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned to find herself face to face with the Secretary General of the UN, whose expression was a mix of awe and amusement. Dr. Chen, he said, his voice grave despite the twinkle in his eye, I believe the General Assembly would be very interested in hearing more about this mimetic defense strategy of yours. Eliza couldn't help but laugh. Of course, Mr. Secretary General. But first, I think we all could use a good cup of coffee, or maybe something stronger. As they made their way off the stage, surrounded by cheering delegates and buzzing reporters, Eliza caught Zixari's eye. The alien nodded, a gesture it had picked up from humans, filled with understanding and shared triumph. In that moment, Eliza knew that whatever challenges the future held, be they diplomatic incidents, cultural misunderstandings, or even more alien invasions, humanity was ready. They had found their place in the cosmos, not through force or fear, but through creativity, adaptability, and yes, even a healthy dose of absurdity. The universe, it turned out, wasn't just stranger than they imagined, it was stranger than they could imagine. And humanity, in all its wonderful weirdness, was finally ready to embrace that strangeness with open arms and a fresh batch of dank memes. As news of Earth's second victory over the Vorthax spread across the galaxy, a new saying began to circulate among alien species: beware the humans. They'll either meme you to death or kill you with kindness. Humanity, it seemed, had found its cosmic calling, and the adventure was only just beginning.